Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Public Accounts Committee to order and welcome everyone in attendance. My name is Shannon Phillips. I'm the MLA for Lethbridge West and the chair of this committee. As we begin this morning, I would invite those participating in the committee room to first introduce themselves. We'll start to my right, please.
Yes, good morning. MLA Cyril Turton for Spruce Grove, Stony Plain.
Good morning, Jordan Walker, MLA Sherwood Park.
Marie Renaud, St. Albert.
Good morning, Nancy Robert, Clerk of Journals and Committees.
Good morning, Warren Huffman, Committee Clerk.
Thank you, colleagues. And with folks joining us through various means of communication, I'll now just go to the UCP side, the government side, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves for the record, and then we'll go to the official opposition and anyone joining us from the Auditor General's office, please.
Good morning, Strong Hominick, Fort Saskatchewan, Vegreville.
Good morning, everyone. Peter Singh, MLA Calgary East.
Good morning, everyone. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Garth Rosal, MLA Vermilion Lloydminster Wainwright.
Roger Reed, MLA Livingston McLeod and Deputy Chair of Committee.
Jackie Lovely, Camrose constituency.
Good morning, Raki Pancholi, MLA Edmonton Whitemud.
Marlon Schmidt, Edmonton Gold Bar.
And do we have anyone on the line from the Office of the Auditor General? I see Mr. Wiley, please.
Good morning, everyone. Doug Wiley, Auditor General.
And do we have anyone on the line from the Legislative Assembly Office? I believe we do, if you'd like to introduce yourself for the record. Alrighty, very good. We will now move on to the approval of the agenda. Friends, are there any changes or additions to this agenda today? Hearing none, I am looking to the floor for a motion then that the agenda for the January 26, 2022 meeting of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts be approved as distributed.
So moved, MLA Reed.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion that we have before us? Seeing none, members, please unmute your microphones. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Thank you. The motion for the approval of the agenda is carried, and we'll now move on to the approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the December 14th, 2021 meeting of the committee before us. Do members have any errors or omissions to note? Seeing none, I'll look to the floor for someone to move that the minutes of the December 14th, 2021 meeting of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts be approved as distributed. If someone could just move that.
Yeah, I move that, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. That was member
Turton.
Churton?
Yes.
I want to say. Okay, good. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Are there any opposed? Thank you. That motion is now carried. We'll now move to the Subcommittee on Committee Business report. Honourable members, the Subcommittee on Committee Business met on January 14th, and we did have some discussions at the tail end of 2021 as well to discuss a number of matters. We did discuss the schedule of committee meetings, and we'll get to that piece in a minute. It's the next item on our agenda. I just wanted to update the committee on a couple of other matters. One, we did consider whether to continue the briefing sessions for members prior to meetings, and it was concluded that we would invite the LAO to provide their research briefing, but not require the Auditor General's office to come to those meetings unless members feel that they would like to speak to the Auditor General on a pre-brief basis, in which case we will just simply send a note to the committee clerk and we will make those arrangements with a reasonable amount of notice. We also discussed the matter of independent members, given that there are some now, and the official opposition put forward a proposal that the last 5-minute chunk of time be set aside for any independent members who did want to show up to the meeting, sort of consistent with what had happened in previous legislatures, as there were a number of different arrangements. It was felt by the government side that we should essentially, and rather in the alternative, play it by ear. And so if independent members do come, then we will deal with their presence when they arrive, per the government MLA's stated intention. And so that is the process that we will follow should that happen. And we also heard from the Auditor General. And so, friends, I want to just make sure that we hear from the Auditor General and make sure that we have some ability for all members to hear from Mr. Wiley and his office on scheduling of meetings. So, Mr. Wiley, I'm wondering if you can provide a few of the comments that you have provided to us members and a specific proposal after some deliberation on it with your office.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. And yeah, so my offer to the committee was that my office would be prepared to come to the committee in the latter part of its spring session to discuss the reports that would have been released from now until that time. I think that affords the committee with a couple of benefits. One, it will give the committee a timely opportunity to have a discussion with us, to discuss any matters arising from our work, and maybe help the committee if the committee itself wishes to pursue some of those matters and make its own recommendations under the committee's authority. The other thing I think it does is it helps, potentially helps the committee in scheduling the fall session. You will have the most recent work from our office that could be considered in the scheduling of the upcoming fall session. So that was my offer, Chair and committee members, and the date that we were looking at was June 21. And that date considers the time taken to review and the scheduling that we work with the Provincial Audit Committee. As you are probably aware, before we table our reports in the Assembly, we are required to meet with the Provincial Audit Committee, and they review our reports and we hear their comments from them. So at the conclusion of that process, I think there'd be an opportunity on June 21, Chair, or thereabouts, to meet with the committee, if it so chooses, to discuss the reports that we would have released up to that point. I will share with the committee that we will have probably in excess of 10 reports that will be publicly released by that time, Chair and committee members. So that was my offer, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wiley. And so that does get into the scheduling, but I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to discuss and share with the committee members everything that had been discussed at the subcommittee. So the members now have that information in front of them, and they have heard from Mr. Wiley. And so with that, I think unless there's any questions or comments on any of the matters that I have brought forward to you as reports from the subcommittee, if there's no other questions or comments, we can consider that report then and that piece of the agenda finalized. I'm looking to the floor now and the folks joining on video conference if there's any questions or comments at this time. All right. Seeing none, then I think we can move on to the spring 2022 committee meeting schedule portion of our agenda, number 5 on the agenda here. The subcommittee on committee business, as I indicated, did discuss our meeting schedule for the 2022 spring session of the legislature. At that time, we could not come to a consensus, and there is no recommended schedule being put forward by the subcommittee for our consideration here today. There were a couple of different suggestions and a couple of different approaches that were brought forward by the two groups of the opposition and the government MLAs. And essentially, the daylight between the two proposals is that there were more ministries considered under the official opposition proposal, at least in the first instance, from the government proposal. And now we have a government proposal that has come to us that is a little bit different than what came to the subcommittee, which is fine. It's before all of the committee members. So I just want to make sure that you all know where the two proposals are. They're on the PAC internal website, and I will now open up the floor to conversation about this. Friends, I believe I have some folks in the chat, and we have Member Renault, who indicates that she'd like to move a motion. But first, I just want to give MLA Tour an opportunity to introduce himself for the record, because I didn't see that part of the chat from the committee clerk. So MLA Tour, please introduce yourself for the record, and then we'll go to Member Renault, who's put herself on the speaking list.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, everybody. Devinder Tour, MLA Calgary Falconage.
Thank you, Member Tour, and welcome. So we'll now look to the floor. I am recognizing Member Renault.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So I would like to make this motion. So I move that the Standing Committee on Public Accounts invite officials from the following ministries to attend a meeting of the committee on the dates specified to discuss the ministry's most recent annual report and any outstanding recommendations from the Auditor General. Number 1, Treasury Board and Finance on February 15, 2022. Number 2, Infrastructure on February 15, 2022. 3, Municipal Affairs, February 22, 2022. Executive Council on February 22, 2022. Indigenous Relations on April 5th, 2022. Number 6, Culture and Status of Women, April 12, 2022. Number 7, Jobs, Economy and Innovation, April 19th, 2022. Number 8, Justice and Solicitor General on April 26, 2022. Number 9, Advanced Education on May 3rd, 2022. Number 10, Children's Services on May 10, 2022. Number 11, Community and Social Services on May 17, 2022. Number 12, Labor and Immigration on May 24th, 2022. Number 13, Energy, May 31st, 2022. Number 14, Environment and Parks on June 7, 2022. And 15, Agriculture and Forestry on June 7, 2022. Now, today I'm bringing forward the official opposition's proposed schedule for the committee for spring 2022. Now, I understand that this is the same proposal that went to the subcommittee, but there was no agreement. And I understand that the government members brought forward a proposed schedule as well to the subcommittee, but it did not align with the government's sessional calendar, which is, strange at best. Unfortunately, as members of this committee know well, no revised schedule was put forward by the government side before the close of business yesterday. That is unfortunate because accountability matters. I hope that the government members will remember that we did not have an opportunity for proper estimates in 2022. So I would suggest that we do everything we can to be transparent and accountable to the people of Alberta through this committee's work. And we have been waiting for months for the government side to lay out a plan for this committee to do its job and provide oversight and accountability for all government ministries. That oversight and accountability matters, particularly for fiscal year 2020-2021, because we all know this was not a normal year. A budget was introduced February 2020, and it was obviously made quite irrelevant by the pandemic. At that time, in early March 2020, the government made a decision. They decided to close down the estimates process and shove the budget through the legislature. Now, many would say it was an undemocratic decision, but whatever your views, we can all agree we were in unique circumstances. But that decision had consequences. The government limited the ability of the legislature through the estimates process to get accountability on the front end of the budgetary process. And now we are at the back end of the process, which is public accounts. This is finally where Albertans, through their legislature, get to hold the government to account for their spending decisions. And we had billions of dollars in extra spending. It's our position, given that there wasn't a real estimates process, that every ministry must come before public accounts this year. That means we have 15 ministries to go. And we can do that with this proposed schedule. Yes, that will mean a little bit more work for members of this committee, but that's what Albertans elected us to do. If we don't have estimates and we don't have public accounts, then this government is cabinet only. And that's government behind closed doors. That's a secretive government. That's an unaccountable government. And that's a government the public doesn't want. We believe Albertans want a reasonable exercise in accountability. And that means at minimum, spending 2 hours with each ministry to go over their work of the previous year. That is the bare minimum. I know that we have questions for all of the ministries we're trying to schedule, and I assume the government members do too. So let's do our job. The proposed schedule would see us wrap up by June 7th, which allows all members a very good long summer to rest, relax, and more importantly, meet with constituents. We're proposing to bring forward ministries based on the longest period of time since they last appeared. While we appreciate that there is another approach to bring forward ministries based on the highest number of outstanding recommendations by the Auditor General, we are following the lead of this government. At the subcommittee, we heard loud and clear that they preferred an approach of bringing ministries based on last appearance, and so we are accommodating their wishes. In conclusion, the proposed schedule is reasonable. It allows for accountability, which is sorely lacking because of the lack of estimates, and it gets this committee back on track. With that, I strongly ask for support from the government members so that they too can hold this government to account. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Member Renault. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to speak to the motion.
Sure, thank you. I can't see the floor right now, just when they put the motion up on the screen, just so that you are aware. So if you do want to speak, honourable members, please do put it in the chat, because I can't see you, and I'm going to assume that was Member Turton that was speaking. Thank you.
Yes, it was, Madam Chair. So thank you very much for recognizing me. So I'd like to thank the honourable member Cross for putting forth the motion. So I guess I have a couple points to describe why I do not support the motion as put forth by the honourable member. So first of all, I do feel as if the schedule does go against precedent, in which we are typically give ministries 4 weeks notice. Obviously, there's a lot of questions that the opposition and the government side have for the various ministries, and I feel it's incumbent upon us to allow them ample time to be able to prepare. So given the fact that the schedule does not allow for those 4 weeks, it does cause me a little bit of concern. As well, the schedule as put forth doesn't really take into consideration that there are many members from around the province that have to travel long distances, and it takes into account, or doesn't take into account, constituency weeks. Meeting with constituents, as the honourable member talked about, is extremely important, and those constituency weeks are extremely valuable for many of us to be able to meet with various stakeholders and groups in our respective ridings. And I feel it's incumbent upon us to be able to ensure that MLAs from around the province have that opportunity to meet with the residents that elected them to the legislature. But I do want to affirm that obviously we do want to hold the various ministries to account. I'm thankful that both the opposition and the government side share that, because residents and taxpayers, they demand that higher level of accountability. And so while I appreciate some of the comments concerning the estimates last year, and obviously given COVID, it was extraordinary times, but I do feel as if the estimates time that government members had in the budget last year was appropriate, just given the situation at the time. And but unfortunately, I can't support the motion as put forth by the opposition for those various points. And I look forward to hopefully a second motion put forth on the government side that I think will better take into consideration both constituency time for MLAs, as well as continuing to hold ministries to account. Thank you.
I have Member Pancholi speaking to the motion that we have on the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo my colleague, MLA Renault from St. Albert's motion and the reasons for it. I just want to simply address some of the comments made by Member Turton with respect to his objections to this motion. And I want to note for the record that, our proposed motion here seeks to call the first two ministries, Treasury Board and Finance and Infrastructure, 3 weeks from now. So it's giving them 3 weeks to prepare. I imagine both ministries are already well underway under work to prepare for the upcoming budget, and it shouldn't be a hardship. They've probably been looking very closely already at the results of the previous fiscal year in order to prepare for that. I think we've heard a number of times in this committee varying timelines that are necessary for ministries to respond and to appear before this committee. All of a sudden now we're saying, I hear Member Turton saying they need at least 4 weeks notice. I think I recall previous meetings where it was at least 3 weeks notice, where it was at least 2 weeks notice, and it seems to be a convenient way to really deny Albertans the chance to get some answers as to how public funds are being spent and the outcomes that have come from that. As noted by my colleague from St. Albert, Albertans really were not provided with full transparency and accountability at the front end of the estimates process, and they deserve. This has been an unusual time period, and they deserve the transparency and accountability now at the end of that fiscal year to find out exactly how those funds are being spent. I believe the ministries and the public service are incredibly competent and able to prepare and come before this committee. With respect to the comments around constituency weeks, there's no requirement in the standing orders that say we cannot meet during constituency weeks. I appreciate all members want to be able to connect with their constituents, but we're talking about a 2-hour meeting from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. One meeting during those constituency weeks. I'm sure we all are used to dividing our time between our obligations in the legislature and on committees, as well as with our constituents. I was surprised to hear the member refer to the long traveling distances, since so many of us are participating virtually right now and have been for some period of time. So I fail to see how any of the arguments put forward by Member Turton should deprive or justify the deprivation of Albertans from getting true accountability on the back end from these ministries. And I urge all the other members of the committee to support this motion.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I'll just look to the floor if there's any other folks who would like to speak to this motion that we have on the floor right now. And seeing none in the chat, I will now look to the committee members to vote on this motion. So all in favor of the motion as is on the screen in front of you?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Madam Chair, I think you might have froze. Can you hear me?
I can't hear anything.
Deputy. Yes. Hi, Mr. Deputy Chair. Maybe could you finish the vote on this? Mr. Reid?
I certainly can. Thanks. Thanks, Warren.
That's great.
Apologies for the technical difficulties. So we'll now call for the vote to those who are opposed to the motion.
No.
Opposed. Opposed.
Opposed.
Opposed. Opposed.
And that motion is defeated.
Mr. Chair, it's Marlon Schmidt here. I'd like a recorded vote on this motion, please.
Certainly, the member has called for a recorded vote. So if we could have those in favor, please turn on your video screens when you vote. All those in favor?
Marie Renaud, yes, in favor.
Raki Pancholi, yes, in favor.
Marlon Schmidt, in favor.
Thank you. And now all those opposed. And again, I remind those not in the room to please turn on your video screen when you are voting.
Garth Rosewall, opposed.
Devinder Toor, opposed.
Peter Singh, opposed.
Jackie Armstrong-Hominick, opposed.
Jackie Lovely, opposed.
Cyril Turton, opposed.
Jordan Walker, opposed.
Thank you, members. And I see that the chair is now back online, so I will return the chair back to her.
Thank you. I've just had to use my phone. It just kicked me out.
Pardon me, Madam Chair. We just had a recorded vote on the motion. Would you like me to read out the results?
No, I caught most of it.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Sorry. I'll just announce the results of the vote. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. For the motion, 3, against 7.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And sorry about that, honourable members. Usually it's considerably more dramatic when I get kicked out of the legislature, but there you have it. Thank you for that. We now have a member who has put himself in the chat, Member Rosewell. He has a motion for the committee members. Member Rosewell.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to move the Standing Committee on Public Accounts invite officials from the following ministries in the following order. Treasury Board and Finance, Infrastructure, Municipal Affairs, Executive Council, Indigenous Relations, Culture and the Status of Women, Jobs, Economy and Innovation, Advanced Education, Children's Services, Community and Social Services, Labor and Immigration, Energy, Environment and Parks, Agriculture and Forestry, and Service Alberta. To meet with the committee during its regular scheduled Tuesday morning meeting time, when the Assembly is sitting, notwithstanding the period during main estimates consideration, to discuss their most recent ministerial annual report and any outstanding recommendations from the Auditor General for the remainder of the 2022 calendar year, and that the committee invite the Office of the Auditor General to meet with the committee on the first Tuesday after the Assembly adjourns in the fall session to review the 2022 report of the Auditor General, if it is released prior to that date. So we got that up there? Okay, good. So this is consistent with the practice, just like the last proposal of meeting with those ministries that we have not seen for the longest period of time, put them at the front of the list, and reverting to past practices of prescribing a list rather than specific dates to reduce the need for administrative scheduling of meetings, as was requested by the LOA. To ensure reduction in administrative scheduling meetings, this list contains more ministries than there are scheduled sitting Tuesdays. To make sure that in the spring and fall sittings are extended, there would be enough ministries to avoid idle sitting Tuesdays. Not listing dates will allow flexibility to accommodate unintended changes in the sitting schedule, such as estimates. Only meeting on regular sitting days of the House will also ensure members are able to meet, spend critical time in their constituencies to ensure they are fulfilling that responsibility. This motion would also ensure that the annual meeting with the Auditor General continues as with the precedent for PAC since 2015. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I am now looking to the floor for any questions, comments, and any other speakers. I have, I believe, Member Pancholi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question about the proposed motion, and I'm sorry, I'm having a bit difficulty seeing it on the screen here. But I just want to ask maybe a question to, do we have Parliamentary Counsel in the room? I'm sorry, I'm afraid I can't see. But if we do, I just want to have a question about this motion as to whether it's in order, because it seems to indicate, you know, that it references meeting at the regularly scheduled meeting time, when I believe actually meeting times are actually in the standing orders to be determined by the call of the chair. So I'm just wondering if this somehow limits or somehow restricts the standing orders with respect to how meetings of this committee are called.
Madam Chair, it's Nancy Robert. Would you like me to try to address that? Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know that I can comment legally. I think, though, when I read this motion, what I see in terms of the intent is that it is very, very typical for this committee to meet on Tuesday mornings during session. That is a very standard practice of the committee, and I think that's the intent of this language. But certainly the motion is amendable, and so if a committee member wanted to propose an amendment to it, that certainly would be in order. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robert. We also have a question, I believe, from Member Renault.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe to the member who brought this motion forward, I just have a question. So there are no dates, and so I'm assuming by using the language when we're sitting, this committee is deciding that we aren't going to meet like in February to take advantage of the time to get a jump on this, instead of just hoping that the session goes a little longer, that we, cover some of these, or that we have time to do it. Instead, I'm alarmed that we understand how important this is, how important this work is, especially during the last couple of years that we've had, and just lackadaisically saying, well, we'll get to it when we get to it. We'll arrive at a situation that we were in last year, where we had ministries that hadn't shown up before this committee for like 2 years. Community and Social Services was one example. We hadn't seen them since 2019. And so I would just like to know why there are no dates and why we aren't taking advantage of every single week available to us to get a jump on this work. Thank you.
Member Rothwell?
Yeah, this was requested by the LAO. It gives them more flexibility, so we're accommodating their request.
All right. Are there any other questions, comments, other interventions on this matter?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
I just want to follow up on Ms. Robert's comments. I understand the intent of the motion. I guess my question is, does a motion passed by the committee, I believe a motion passed by the committee cannot contravene or limit in any way authority under the standing orders. And I appreciate Ms. Robert is not a lawyer, but I just feel like we need some clarification on that, or I would appreciate some clarification on that, but that's my question, I guess. I don't know if we're going to get an answer today if we don't have Parliamentary Counsel with us, but that's just, I want to be clear that the committee does not have the authority to in any way amend the standing orders.
Ms. Robert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, in reading this motion, it doesn't mention the standing orders anywhere. I think that if there's a concern, perhaps the committee may wish to seek to amend the motion to say something to the effect of to meet with the committee during Tuesday mornings while the assembly is in session for the, something to that effect, if that would make the committee more comfortable. But I don't think it says anything about the standing orders, and so I'm not sure. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure if it's contravening the standing orders. Thank you.
Then, if I may, Madam Chair, then I would like to propose an amendment. And if I may, yeah, okay. And again, not, I mean, we can finesse the wording, but basically, with respect to after the list of ministries, to say to meet with the committee in accordance with the standing orders, notwithstanding the period during main estimates consideration. So to delete to meet with the committee, delete during its regularly scheduled Tuesday morning meeting time when the assembly is sitting, and just to really say in accordance with standing orders.
Thank you. We do have an amendment on the floor. And I'm looking then to the group for any discussion on this amendment. And I'm not seeing any discussion or indication that anyone wants to discuss this in the chat. So we will move then to a vote on this amendment. Looking to you, Honourable Member.
Sorry, Madam Chair, it's Nancy Rivera. If I could just interrupt. I'm just hoping we can let the committee clerk have an opportunity to perhaps put the language of the amendment up on the screen so that everybody has a chance to see it, and Ms. Pancholi can read it and make sure it reflects her intent.
Sure.
And sorry, Ms. Pancholi, which was the part you wanted to delete from the original motion?
So in that paragraph after the list of ministries, maybe delete during its regularly scheduled Tuesday morning meeting time when the Assembly is sitting, notwithstanding the period during main estimates consideration. And then once that's deleted, just replace it with, to meet with the committee, replace it with in accordance with the standing orders.
Sure. Okay, everyone, thank you for your patience. I've put the amendment into the chat and also on the internal site on the motion. If you don't mind reviewing that, Ms. Pancholi, and just letting me know if that sounds what you had intended.
Yep, that is fine. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, honourable members, we have an for any further discussion on this amendment.
If I may, Madam Chair, I just simply want to say that this is for clarity, just to be completely clear that, of course, we all know that no matter sort of what we do in this committee, it is guided by the standing orders. So I just wanted that for clarity's sake. This is the intent of the amendment.
Thank you. So with that, I'm not seeing folks who would like to comment on now. So wondering if we should move then to a vote, looking then to the floor for all in favor of this amendment.
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed?
Opposed.
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 Opposed. Opposed. Opposed.
Opposed.
All right. It appears that that amendment has failed. We are then back to the main motion. Friends, I'm wondering if there is, I'm looking to the floor for any other discussion on this motion as put forward by the government members that is up on your screen.
Madam Chair, I'd like to propose a motion, if I could.
Yes, please, Honourable Member.
An amendment to this motion, sorry, to be clear. I'd like to amend this motion to include an invitation to the Auditor General to meet with the committee on June 21st of 2022.
All right, looking to the committee clerk to put that amendment in addition to the motion that affixes a specific date of June 21st, 2022 for an appearance by the Auditor General's office to discuss his reports as we heard from him in the report on subcommittee business, as I understand this particular amendment, given that the Auditor General has requested a specific date. Is that correct, Honourable Member?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I will just wait for the committee clerk to put that up on the screen or in the chat, whatever the case may be.
Madam Chair, we're just trying to figure out the best way to fit it in, because we're going to have to either add it at the end or put it between sub 1 and sub 2. So I'm just not sure, if the committee has, like if Mr. Schmidt has a preference as to whether he wants to add it as a sub 3, even though what he's requesting would be occurring before what's happening in sub 2, in that the Auditor General is being requested to meet in the fall with the committee, and then sub 3 would be asking the Auditor General to meet in the spring with the committee. Do you see what I mean?
Right. So if I may, Madam Chair, respond to the question, I guess my amendment would be a sub 3 to include an invitation to the Auditor General to appear before the committee on June 21st, 2022. So that's in addition to this invitation to have the Auditor General appear in the fall of 2022. As we've seen multiple times, the Auditor General releases lots of reports throughout the year. It sounds like he's got a busy year ahead of him in his office. He's specifically requested to come and speak to us on June 21st. He also will release a fall report, I'm sure, at which time the committee would be happy to meet with him in the fall as proposed here by the government members. So this is a meeting in addition to the one that government has proposed.
All right, I'm just looking to the floor and to the chat to see if we have any speakers to this amendment.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to speak to the amendment. This is MLA Turton here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you very much to the honourable member for putting forth the amendment. So I guess a couple questions I have, or not questions, but I guess just comments about why I will not be supporting this, is that while I appreciate the sentiment of the honourable member for putting this forth, I mean, there has been a precedent since 2015, even since the previous government, that the Auditor General only appears before the committee once a year, and that's to review the Auditor General's annual report. And to this point, in all my years serving here on this committee, I find that it has been efficient and effective. And I also just want to make sure that we give the time and effort and energy to the ministries that are on the list by Member Roswell. And I just don't see the need at this point to go against existing precedent, which has existed for many years. So I will be voting against this, and I urge all members to vote accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Member Pancholi would like to speak to this amendment, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm seeing a disturbing trend from the government members of this committee who are appearing to try to do as little work as possible in this committee. I don't know if they've got other things on their minds. But when we are a member of this committee, our obligations are to provide accountability and transparency for Albertans. I see no significant precedent that is in place that says the Auditor General, who is a key part of this committee, why the Auditor General's office should only appear once a year. We just heard an explicit request from the Auditor General to come before this committee in June. He specifically requested June 21st. It was very clear that he was saying that that's important work that needs to be done. There are going to be important recommendations over spanning a period of time that's been very difficult for Albertans, where we've had limited transparency and accountability from this government with respect to debating the budget and the estimates. So to now try to limit based on some unstated precedent that apparently the Auditor General, according to the UCP committee members, only appear once before this committee is quite shocking, frankly. And I don't know why they're not willing to do their jobs and do the work. They've been trying to limit the number of meetings that this committee will have, limit the appearances of the Auditor General, who has been specifically asked that is going to be key reporting information for planning our schedule for the fall sessions of this committee. I'm frankly shocked at every turn at this. The UCP members of this committee seem to be wanting to do as little work as possible, which frankly is consistent with what we've seen throughout their conduct while in government. While the opposition members are ready to do their work, ready to provide the accountability and transparency for Albertans, and I urge all committee members, including the government members, to step up and do their jobs.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I am now looking to the floor or the chat for any other members who would like to speak to this amendment. I can't quite see the screen, but I am going to assume that the amendment is up on the screen, that the clerk has had an opportunity to do that. If someone could just let me know, just because I cannot see the font.
Sorry, Madam Chair, this is Member Renault. I just like to make a comment, but I can't put a note in the chat. My computer has died.
Yes, please go ahead, Member Renault.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm a little bit stunned, actually. You know, I'm used to the government members, you know, doing everything they can to limit debate, to do everything they can to limit transparency and all of this, but to have the Auditor General just not that long ago tell us as a committee the amount of work that they're doing in these times that are so incredibly challenging and difficult, that this government has spent millions and millions and millions of dollars, and you would think that all of us on this committee would want to know exactly what is happening, where the recommendations are the outcomes that we're seeing, are they appropriate, are they measurable? Any of this. The Auditor General has literally told us that he's willing to come to talk about his work so that we can do our work properly, and the UCP government members are literally saying no. We're used to them not wanting to work very hard or limiting debate, but this is just unprecedented that the Auditor General, a member of this committee, is not allowed to present to this committee when the Auditor General chose the best time for his office to present. So it's just astounding to me that the government members are just so willing to do what they're told to limit debate and transparency. It's stunning. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable. Just looking now at two tabs, see if there are members that would provide their to this amendment as we have it before. And I just could read it out one time, just simply cannot see it. And I'm going to assume that maybe other folks can't either.
Hi, I apologize for that. So I'll read out the text of the amendment. That the motion be amended by adding the following after sub 2. Sub 3, that the committee invite officials from the Office of the Auditor General to present a report on June 21st, 2021. And I will try to make that text a little bit bigger so you can see it online. Thank you.
It's not you. Thank you for that. It's the fact that I switched to my phone after getting kicked off the laptop. That's the only reason why I can't read it. I imagine everyone else who's on a properly functioning computer will be able to read it. So looking to the chat now, I'm seeing no further members wishing to speak to this. So we will now move to a vote on this amendment. Honourable members, all in favour of this?
If we could get a recorded vote, Madam Chair.
Sure. So honourable members, all in favour?
Sorry, Madam Chair. We have to do the vote first before we can do the recorded vote. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to do the regular vote, and then we will move to a recorded vote after that. So honourable members, I am looking now for you to unmute your microphones. All in favour of this amendment, please say so by stating
Aye.
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 Honourable members, are there any opposed to this amendment?
Opposed.
Opposed.
All right. Now it appears that we have a request for a recorded vote, and so we will now move to honourable members in favour of the amendment as it is in front of you. Please state your names, or state that you are in favour.
Marie Renaud in favour.
Raki Pancholi in favour.
Marlon Schmidt in favour.
Okay. Seeing no others in favour, please then all the please state your name.
MLA Reid, opposed.
MLA Tour, opposed.
MLA Armstrong Hominick, opposed.
Peter Singh, opposed.
MLA Lovely, opposed.
Garth Roswell, opposed.
MLA Cyril Turton, opposed.
MLA Jordan Walker, opposed.
Thank you very much, honourable member. That that amendment has now failed, and so we are.
Sorry, Madam Chair, to interrupt. Can I read out the totals? Thank you.
Yeah.
For the motion, 3 against 8.
Very good. Clerk, we are now back on the main motion, friends. So I'm looking to the chat for any other folks who wish to speak to this main motion. Seeing none that are looking to speak to this main motion, we will now move to a vote. Looking to the floor then for all in favor as the motion of the motion as it is in front of you.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All opposed to the motion as it is in front of you.
Opposed.
No.
No.
Thank you, honourable members. It appears that motion has now passed. And so we will, I'll now look to the floor for any other discussion on the spring 2022 committee meeting schedule. And seeing none then, we will move on to agenda item 6 under other business. Honourable members, is there any other business to raise at this meeting at this time? All right. I will just then advise folks that the committee has received written responses to questions asked by committee members during our fall meetings from the Ministry of Seniors and Housing, which was November 16th, 2021, the Ministry of Transportation on November 30th, 2021, and the Auditor General on December 14th, 2021. As per the usual practice, those will be posted to the committee's public website. Honourable members, I would like to briefly discuss one other matter under other business. As committee members know, it is standard practice for the committee to prepare a report for the Assembly on its activities from the previous year. The usual practice has been to have the committee clerk prepare this report and distribute the draft to members of the committee for our approval. It is primarily intended to provide an information overview of our activities for the records of the Assembly. The report contains information on meetings that we have held, any professional development workshops our members have participated in, and information on any conferences attended by our committee members. This year, the report will also contain information about the 2021 CCPAC-CCOLA conference that was co-hosted by our committee. Are there any questions or concerns in relation to the committee clerk drafting this report? Seeing none, very well. The committee clerk will then prepare a draft report for our review at an upcoming meeting. Not seeing any other items for discussion under other business, I'll just give us one more chance. If not, we will now move to item 7 on the agenda, which is date of next meeting, which is at the call of the chair. I will now move to adjournment. Friends at the table, please be reminded to remove your own bottles and cups for the safety of LAO staff. And I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Would a member move that the meeting be adjourned?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 That motion is carried. Thank you very much.